Perfect. Right. So we're coming into a posture where effectively we're going to end up with our feet up against the wall or up against the door. And depending on your personal flexibility at the back of the hamstrings, at the back of the legs, will depend on how close you want to get your body to the wall of the door that you've chosen to use. Now, my preference is to get my hip bone as close to that wall or the skirting board as you possibly can. I think the further you start away from the wall of the door you're going to use, the harder work it gives you to then get the sit bones more flush with that flat surface. So my first tip is get as close as you can, and then have the knees bent because we're a bit limited for space. And I'm simply going to start from a bent knee position, bring the legs up, and then use my hands just to push against the door so that my sit bones are now resting flush on the bottom of the door. My heels are resting halfway up the door. I've only got little legs. And then my preference is to widen the arms so that I'm open through the chest. You kind of get a sense, as I mentioned before, that the back of the legs are being lengthened. So if that feels very uncomfortable for you to hold for a long time, you can either bend the knees, or if you wish to start a little hip opening, you can bring the soles of the feet together and roll the knees out. So I'll come out of this position so that I can watch you getting into your position. You don't have to change your camera angle if you don't want to. It's only if you need to question what your position is. And Mary's just arrived, so we'll let her in. Hi, Mary, we got your message. So, Mary, we're actually starting against either the door or a wall. We're coming into Viparita Karani. It sounds a bit like an Indian meal, I always think when I say it. I never quite say it right either. Viparita Karani. So we want to avoid, if we can, too much shuffling, but there might be an element of kind of shuffling your bottom a little bit closer to the wall. But if you do that, then remind yourself to kind of align the shoulders with the hips again. There's no point in having the shoulders offset to the right, for example, because you'll just start to feel a bit twisted in the spine. Now, as I mentioned, my preference is to widen the arms, to turn the palms up towards the ceiling. It just gives me that sense that I'm really opening through the full expanse of the chest and resting into the flats of the shoulder blades. Now, obviously, this isn't a position that we would come to naturally in every day. So you might want to just check in with how you're holding the chin, the back of the neck, and maybe just nodding the chin a little more closely towards the chest so that you can rest a little more fully into that space at the back of the neck. With ladies, there's sometimes the issue of having a ponytail in just the right spot there. You might find it helps to draw the shoulder blades together so that you can really expand and widen through the chest, so that you can feel that extension through the arms. And if you consider when we've spoken before about the heart chakra, so we know that the heart chakra starts from the center of that heart space in the middle of the chest. But if you visualize that your heart chakra expands and widens way past the fingertips, so by creating this space for yourself in the upper body, you're freeing yourself from any tension, opening into that full expanse of the heart space by having your feet up above your head. It's kind of turning your sense of perspective upside down. Over time, sometimes we start to feel pins and needles in the feet. We're just not used to the feet being up above the head. But you might already be feeling the benefits of the drain, if you like, of the water retention, of any stagnant energy, effectively draining down back through the length of your legs. and melting into that space beneath you. So we're releasing tension here. This posture is an amazing go-to if you ever wake up, get out of bed and find that you've twanged something in your lower back, or if you feel a little bit stiff on a morning when you get out of bed. If you can swivel yourself into this position, by now you'll already be feeling that sense of the connection through the flats of the sacrum bones gives you a little spread, a little release and a widening in the lower back. And because you're not having to hold yourself up, you can really sink into that full space, feeling the wide muscles of the back release and relax. Again, be mindful that sometimes you can get a little bit of pins and needles in the feet. So maybe keep wiggling the toes. If it becomes too much at any time, bend the knees. And since we're in this position, we'll just play around with the different variations that we can use of this posture. So for now, we've fairly squarely got the feet up against the wall or up against the door. You might want to just try sliding the feet a little wider apart. You want to make sure you've still got that comfortable grip through the lower back, so not so wide that the lower back starts to lift. And you'll feel that this starts to open the space in the inner thigh, widen the space across the hips, through the pelvis. And for some people, this is more comfortable than keeping the legs straight. Again, I'll mention those of us who are tight in the hamstrings. That's usually the one limitation in this posture. Another alternative to try is to bend the knees, to roll the knees outwards away from each other and bring the soles of the feet together. It then becomes personal preference how close you draw the heels towards the groin. There might be a little bit of resistance in the hips, in the knees. If there's resistance in the knees, push the feet a little further away. And just find a comfortable way to release a little more deeply into this space. Now, obviously, we're upside down here. Usually when we do this Baddha Konasana pose, we're either seated and allowing gravity to draw the thighs towards the floor, or we're laid down, and again, gravity is widening that space in the inner thighs. You're kind of cheating gravity a little bit because you're up in the air. So come to that idea that with every out breath, you're widening the knees a little more, deepening the stretch a little more in the inner thigh, drawing the heels a little closer to the groin. And then again, just doing that mental check-in. And if it says this isn't comfortable on the knees, the hips, or indeed in the lower back, then adjusting once more, taking the legs long, taking them wide, going back to a position that you feel you're getting some benefit. So if you're happy to stay in the knees bent position, then do so. If you feel that you want to straighten the legs or take the feet wide, then adjust now. Just so that you can get the full benefit of this as a restful yin posture. So now that we've been in this posture for a good few minutes now, you'll feel that there's equal weight distributed between the back of the shoulders, the back of the hips. And any tension that you were holding on to in the lower back has kind of been given permission to soften and release. We're fully supporting the spine here. We don't have to engage the core. We can allow everything to go soft, bringing the awareness to the breath, relaxing the tongue and the well of the mouth. And if you're happy to do so, close the eyes.
and simply focus on your breath. You might want to imagine sending that deep inhalation all the way to the soles of the feet. With every full exhalation, allowing your upper body to become a little heavier, easing a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. Think of every out-breath as a letting go. I'll mention again as a point of order, if you're starting to feel that sensation of pins and needles in the feet, then we really should think about adjusting, coming out of the position. Kind of getting to that stage of all the blood is draining away from the feet, which is lovely for the circulation. It's great for if you get really heavy legs on a night, or if you feel you hold water around the ankles, around the feet. But not so great if the circulation is creating that throbbing sensation in the feet. So for some of you, this is the first time we've done this posture. I don't want to leave you in it for too long because we might get stuck. You might get too relaxed. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to kind of adjust, coming back to that straight leg posture. And just to mobilize the ankles a little and wake the feet up before we start to move, let's just point and flex through the toes. If you wish, take one foot off the wall, mobilize the ankle, rotating at the joint. Then do the same with the other. Then we'll take a moment to just gently slide the feet down either the wall or the door, bending the knees towards your body. So we're keeping that nice gentle arch in the lower back. We're rounding the back towards the floor. Now, I'll remind you that for those of you who have low blood pressure, I always recommend rolling to the left side. If that doesn't affect you, you may feel it's more natural to roll to your dominant side. So take a moment to choose the side that feels most relevant for you. And then take your time to return once more to a comfortable, seated position. Now, the nice thing about that upside down position is you've managed to get the benefits of being upside down, but you've not created any dizziness in the head because the back of the head has been supported all the way through the body. What you have done is you've been able to lighten the legs, and particularly in coming into the summer months, it's something that we do feel. We get kind of like heavy legs, and that water retention that I've mentioned a couple of times, that can come on hormonally. So it's another little option, a nice little relaxation option for you. Anyone feel that uncomfortable, or did we feel that was a quite a nice one? Yeah, good one. Good one to remember. I do know that some people have a preference for placing a cushion or a pillow underneath the hips when they put the legs up against the wall. It's a bit of a personal thing. I tend not to teach it first because I do feel, for me, it displaces the natural anatomy of your body. So if I taught you that way, then you kind of wouldn't know that it's almost quite a nice benefit to get the back as flat as you can, that 90-degree angle at the hips. So I mentioned that we were going to do a breathing technique. We'll do that now. So if you think you need to have a quick blow of your nose, then do so. And as I say, that's just for comfort. You're in your own home anyway, so you can't be spraying anything my way. And I'm going to teach you my little sort of intro that I always do when I do this breathing technique. So hands up if you have ever done tequila shots. Okay, there's not many people admitting to it, but thank you to those of you who are. Thank you. Veronica's shouting, glow you have. That's going to be first on the agenda when we get back then. I'm just going to ask Pippa to make sure we've got tequila in the bar when we get back. Perfect. So when we do tequila shots, the reason I'm mentioning it is that we, first of all, we lick the back of the hand so that we can put the salt on, and then we lick the back of the hand, then we put the lime on. So it's that action that I need you to mimic. Unfortunately, there's no alcohol involved, but go with it. So we're effectively just going to lick the back of the hand, that little bit in here, so that it makes it damp enough, and then breathe out through your nostrils. So when you breathe out through your nostrils, what you might notice is that one nostril's slightly more dominant than the other. Sometimes we've got one nostril that's just a little bit more open. That can be down to the differences in the septums. It may be that one septum's a little more twisted than the other, but generally speaking, the kind of force that comes out through the nose is a measure of how much yin and yang you have in your body. So if you are very dominant through the right nostril, it kind of means that you're going, hey up, I'm here, I'm ready to go, I'm firing on all cylinders. And if you're coming out your left nostril, it's like, I'm quite chilled, I'm quite yin, and I'm ready for my sleep now. Thank you very much. So in the middle of the day, neither of those states is ideal. We'd prefer to be somewhere in the middle. And I do sometimes sort of suggest that people who perhaps have trouble sleeping at night, one of the tips that I suggest is think about the side that you sleep on. If you are sleeping on your left side and being very dominant in this right nostril, it's kind of scrambling messages to your brain. It's kind of saying to your brain, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, because that's the side of the body that associates with that get up and go. So it's sometimes worth trying rolling to the other side. Equally, if you're struggling to wake up in the morning, come off the side that's got the left nostril dominant and roll to the other side. I love this breathing technique because it's fairly inobtrusive. You can do it, without people noticing really. And I suggest it to both my daughters who are sitting exams at the moment, because often they kind of get into the space and they're like, right, we need to go. And it's to bring them back into their head. And I know people that have used it for like driving tests. That's another good example of bringing yourself back into center. So if you remember a few weeks ago when we did the last relaxation, I showed you that image of the little person with all the chakras up and down that central line of energy. So that central line of energy is called your Sushumna. That's what we call it in the Sanskrit. And then we have the Ida and Pingali on the right and the left side of the body. So our intention is to have that constant balance. We mentioned before when we were looking at the chakras that we're kind of like coiling what feels like a snake up around the chakras, waking up from the Shakti to the Shiva. So we're kind of connecting the feminine with the masculine energy. So that all this kind of how we breathe comes into that. So the function of now balancing out the breath is so that we can feel that we've got equal strength coming out of both nostrils. So you've done the little lick test. You know if you've got one that's more dominant than the other. We're now going to use the hands. Now, there is a fancy way of doing this, but I've got to tell you, I've only got little hands and I find it really uncomfortable. So I'll show you it and you can mimic it. But I personally find it really easy to just do that. So the fancy way is to use the index finger and middle finger to rest on your third eye, to bring the ring finger and the little finger together. And that comes to the outside of the left nostril. It depends on what hand you're using, if you're using the right hand. And then the thumb coming to hold the opposite nostril. I can't actually do that very comfortably. I find the ring finger gets really smushed up. So my preference is to fold the middle three down and just navigate between the thumb and the pinky. That works for me. So you do whatever you feel is the correct way for you. So we will effectively close off one nostril with whichever finger, and then close off the other nostril. I'm back to front to you, so I'm actually using my left, but because I'm mirror to you, I will say right. So I'll always do it so that you can follow what I'm doing. So the first thing we're going to do is close off the left nostril and take a big deep breath in through the right. Close off the right nostril and breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Close the left. Breathe out through the right. Then in through the right. Close the right, out through the left. In through the left. Close the nostril. Out through the right. Then in through the right. So we got the pattern, because you'll get fed up of hearing my voice saying in, out, shake it all about. So if you come back to, we're going to do 12 full rounds. And if you're at home and practicing this, I'm going to show you the way that I count it when I'm teaching. So I use the 4 fingers, and we have 3 joints, if you like, to each finger, 3 parts to each finger. So when we do 12 full rounds, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's how I count without getting myself muddled up. So if you want to use that method, you can. So if we start by closing the left nostril, and remember, we kind of cheat the first one. We do 1 breath in, close off the right, then 1 breath out, then we're into our first full round. So in, close, and out, in through the right, close, and out. In again through the left, close, out through the right, in through the right, close, out through the left, in through the left, close, out through the right, in through the right, close, out through the left, in through the left, close, out through the right, in through the right. We're about halfway through, so I'll let you work to your own pace now. Close that left nostril, out through the right, in through the right. Close the right nostril, out through the left. Then unclose the right nostril, breathe in evenly through both nostrils. Breathe out through both nostrils. Tequila slammer again. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out. And just test. I'm getting lots of nods and thumbs up. Managed to bring it into a little bit of balance. The other thing that's very interesting is the breath tends to be a little shallow normally. We don't really think about the breath usually during our day, but after doing that exercise, when you breathe out through the nose, boy, you can really feel it. You've really engaged the lungs, you've opened out into the heart. You've not really thought about it, but we've really expanded into the breath. So there is a moment where it starts to feel a little bit woohoo, which I like. little bit like gas and air, but that's your central line of energy, if you like, just bringing you calm back into center. Perfect. So I don't want to wake you up too much. Let's take hold of the bolster, the pillow, the blanket, whatever you've got, and we'll do the first of these postures. Now, because I've had you sitting up for a long time, the first posture we're going to do will kind of stretch out the thighs, open out the heart again, but it will have us leaning back. So I will demonstrate the shape of the posture to you, and then you'll kind of work around the prop that you have to kind of make it fit, as it were. So I mentioned before, mine's nice and long and nice and firm. So I treat mine a bit like a horsey. So I straddle my horsey. And then because I'm quite short, I know that I can come all the way to the end of my bolster. If you're taller and longer in the spine, you might kind of have to adjust where you end up putting your bottom. So for now, the knees are bent. And it kind of is a bit of a personal preference whether you take the knees wide or whether you keep them kind of tracked in with the hips. My preference is to keep them tracked in. I always feel that any kind of external rotation in the knees as we're going back on them puts a little bit more pressure on the joint. And then effectively, we're just walking the hands back and allowing the spine to sink a little more deeply into that space. I quite like the sensation of my head released, free and easy. You might feel more comfortable, more confident to have a pillow or something underneath your head. And as I say, play about with what you're using, because depending on the length that you've got, you'll get more or less support through the spine. I can perch, as I say, right on the end. The alternative you can do when you come right to the end is to actually bring the knees together so that the thighs are flush, and then do your little lie back. But it tends to lift the shins off the floor, so it might not be as comfortable. There's lots of fiddling about with furniture and pillows and cushions and getting into this space. Lovely. Now, I'm mindful that not everyone will love this sensation on the knees or on the ankles. So I'm going to give you an alternative. And the alternative is that we're going to take the legs forward. And again, we're keeping the bottom perched on the very edge, the very bottom. So we're getting the full extent and just leaning back on the mat. Do check in with how it makes you feel to have the head hanging loose. For some people, this is intolerable. It kind of reminds me of when you go to the hairdressers and they get you to lean back into that basin. So if you think you would be better supported having a brick, a cushion, something with a little bit of height under the head, then use that. If you've chosen to do this posture with the legs extended, you can always take the feet a little wider. Just try not to bend the knees back on themselves. Try not to lock the knees out. Nice and soft, released into the space. And again, I'm going to replicate that sense of opening the arms because I just love how it makes it feel through the heart space, through the chest. And I really like that release through the back of the shoulder blades. And I mentioned before that the whole function of a yin pose is that the longer you're in it, the looser, the easier it becomes. So there's almost a bit at the start where you feel slightly resistant, partly because you've not been in this position before. And then you start to realize, actually, if I just let my shoulders become a little heavier, that takes that pressure away from the back of the neck. If I just allow the chest to widen, I get a deeper stretch. Then you start to become aware of that widening happening through the muscles that support the spine. And allowing yourself So just ease a little more deeply into the earth. Unclenching the jaw again. Softening the tongue. Releasing the cheeks and the chin. Oh, I like what you did there, Jean. That looks lovely with the extra pillow in the middle. That's a good shout. So as this is a yin posture, it's one of those that the first time you try it, it might feel a little bit difficult because it's kind of new to you. And it often puts weight, if you like, into areas of the body that you don't normally take it, particularly through that space at the back of the shoulders, the back of the neck. So if you're feeling the tension there, pop a cushion, pop a brick or something underneath the back of the head. It will make a difference. And this is the type of posture that you can keep coming back to. And every time you do it, maybe holding it for 30 seconds longer, a minute longer, a couple of minutes longer. I'm not going to hold you in full yin poses for the full 10 minutes or so for each one today. Just because I want to kind of talk you into them, talk you out of them, and then you know you've got them to return to when you need that little bit of chilling out. So to prepare to safely come out of this posture, remember there's quite a lot of exposure here in the spine, particularly in the lower back. So the first rule of thumb, whenever we're putting any tension in the lower back, is bending the knees. So bend the knees in. Because we've expanded and softened into this space, if you were to now engage the core and sit up, it would feel like a big job. It would feel very heavy through the shoulders. So you're probably better rolling off the prop that you've chosen. As I mentioned before, low blood pressure, take the left. There might be a moment where your bottom or your hip just pops onto the floor. And then take your time, pushing yourself up from the side to come back towards center. I rolled to the wrong side there. I wasn't really paying attention. Good. So some of you will have loved that. Some of you will have felt really, really quite extreme. And that's the thing about yin postures is I think it's psychological, really. There's that exposure. We never open ourselves and feel so vulnerable in that position. So I'm going to show you an alternative one now where effectively it closes it all down rather than opening it all up. And again, we will use our little bit of a prop. I know for this one, I need a little bit more than just a bolster. So I'm going to keep my blanket handy as well. And we're going to come into a Dandasana position. So legs straight in front of you. Then we're going to bring that bolster or the pillow as close towards the tummy, towards the hip crease as you can. If you still feel that that's quite low, you can bring a little bit of a blanket or something on top. And then we're going to lift out of the sit bones. And as you exhale, let the weight of your chest effectively find its way onto the bolster. This kills the backs of my legs because I'm tight in the hamstrings. So I'm going to soften the knees. For me, I'm rolling the toes out because it feels comfortable. And then just allowing the head to rest forward. I quite like having the extra blanket because it's somewhere for me to rest my chin. And so if you think about it, this is the opposite stretch to the one we've just done. Previously, we were very open through the chest. This is giving us an opportunity to widen through the spine, to round the lower back, to reinstate that expanse through the back of the shoulder blades. And what's nice about it is, for those of us who don't particularly enjoy forward fold with straight legs because it's a bit uncomfortable on the hamstrings,
What's nice about this is you can kind of work at your own pace. And so every out breath, you can just come a little bit deeper. And it might get to the point where you go, I don't need that extra pillow or that extra blanket, and take the hands a little further forward. And then ultimately you might take hold of the feet. You might not. It's quite a big stretch. It's quite active. So go back to being yin if that's more comfortable for you. And it's getting that mindset that every out breath is a letting go, a release. Beautiful. And so again, we're going to keep track of the fact that every time you lean a little bit more deeply into this, you'll feel that the wide muscles of the back are letting go. They're not kind of holding you firm anymore. They're not kind of like tight and erect. So by that same token, we wouldn't then want to ping straight up into shape, because those wide muscles of the back would have nowhere to go. We want to keep it all nice and calm. So to keep it nice and calm, start to just bring your awareness back to using every out breath to engage the core. And we know that engaging the core means drawing the tummy button towards the spine. Then sliding the hands back onto the bolster, back onto the pillow. Exhaling to draw the tummy button in. Just pressing the palms into the top of the pillow and lifting your chest to lift yourself back to center. If we'd suddenly lifted up there, the lower back would have complained. Beautiful. So I promised you that today you would have a nice long meditation. So if you've got a blanket, you might want to pull it over you for warmth. You might want to have some socks on. We're now going to use this prop underneath the knees. So you'll notice that sometimes I'll suggest if you have discomfort in the lower back, you might prefer to bend the knees when we come to any kind of supine position. Using a bolster or a pillow or a series of blankets to raise the knees a little bit higher than the hips is a lovely way of, again, getting into that really tight space in the lower back. So popping the bolster or the pillow underneath the knees. I've got such short legs, my feet are up in the air. If you've got short legs, you'll need to bring your bolster closer to your hamstrings. So the hips are fully weighted on the floor, the shoulders are fully weighted back and down, the back of the head is relaxed. And rather than taking the arms wide, you can bring the hands either side of the hips and just let the weight through the back of your body do its thing. Now, some of you, when you come into this Savasana or dead corpse pose, already know that you don't really need any support behind the knees. So if you prefer to get rid of the prop and just extend the legs, you can. If you've not tried it before with the prop underneath your legs, you might want to just see the difference, see how it feels. It promotes, again, that sense of not having to be active, not having to hold yourself in a position, and allowing yourself to fully release and relax. So let yourself become comfortable. Make sure you're going to feel warm. You don't want to be distracted. Choose a position where your body feels fully supported. And when you're ready to, gently close the eyes. Position the hands and the feet equal distance from the midline of your body to encourage the steady flow of prana.
that positive energy from the top of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet. Rest the backs of the hands either side of your hips, softening the fingers, relaxing the palms, becoming aware of the widening across your collarbones, and that sense of releasing the weight of your shoulders away from your ears to allow the arms become heavy and rested by your side. Throughout the Savasana practice, remain aware of your connection with the earth beneath you, through that space at the back of the hips, the pressure points at the back of the heels, or perhaps through the soles of your feet. Our intention here is to find zero desire for movement. So take some time to acknowledge any discomfort in the body, paying particular attention to those parts of the body where you know stress or tension might manifest for you. Allow a widening and a softening at the back of the hips. And fully release any tension, any clenching in the abdomen. Feel the released and relaxed weight of your body sink a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. Acknowledging that your whole body is supported at this time. Sense that support through the length of your spine, at the back of your neck, and once more mindfully unclench. Relax the jaw and the temples. Soften the tongue and the well of your mouth. Release the eyebrows. And relax the muscles of the face. Bring your full attention to your breath. Feeling the sensation of cool air from the tip of the nose along your nasal passages. Feeling expansion as warm air passes back over the throat center as you exhale. With every breath, become aware of drawing positive energy deeper into the lungs, into the rib cage. And feel yourself expanding, widening into the space in front of you, to the sides of you, and letting any tension dissipate into the space beneath you. Simply rest here and tune into your breath. Notice without judgment anywhere the breath may feel constricted. Then lovingly and mindfully direct a nourishing, energizing breath to any part of the body, asking for a little extra attention. Give yourself permission to unclench here, to release here, and allow any stagnant energy to melt into the earth, for Mother Earth to recycle into something beautiful. Think of the trees drawing deep nourishment from their roots to remain grounded, strong and healthy, recycling carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere to create clean and pure oxygen. In the same way, set your own roots down, deep into the Earth's core. Visualize releasing a root from the sole of your right foot. Feel a root from the sole of your left foot. Gently drawing you to connect more deeply into the Earth's core. Aware of that cooling energy, firmly grounding you to your space within this room. Throughout this practice, if you feel your attention wanders, bring your full focus back to the breath. Tune in once more to those familiar sensations of the breath. The cool air on the breath in, the warm air on the breath out. Remain grounded and connected with the space that surrounds you. If you find that you drift off during this extended Shavasana, simply accept this gift of deep rest and nourishment, knowing that when you return to a more awakened state, to allow extra time to re-ground, once more setting those roots from the soles of your feet into the earth, to reconnect you. Our intention is to practice this Shavasana with a mindful awareness, a connection to the breath and the body, and an opportunity to invite the mind to quiet. As we head towards a deeper state of relaxation, maintain your focus on deepened, lengthened breath to stimulate the lungs, to oxygenate the blood, and to fill your body with prana. Follow the beautiful guiding life force of prana, positive energy, to collectively raise our vibration. Know that negative thoughts and fear lower our vibration and suppress the natural healing energy we hold within us. Learn to strengthen your immune system with a regular, revitalizing meditation practice. Harness the energy of the breath to send healing to the parts of the body that need it most. Feel yourself. See yourself expanding and widening into the space that surrounds you. Become aware of fully occupying the space that surrounds you. And let your focus come to rest at the top of your head. Taking time now to trace the outline of your body. You might notice that your outline sits outside of your physical body. Visualize this line as a golden white light, tracing all the way around your body. Don't forget under your feet. Then trace that line again to the front of your body, through the back of your body, creating a shield of pure golden white light to completely surround you. From underneath the soles of the feet, through to the space above the top of the head. We'll now take some time to fill this golden white outline with colours from the chakra rainbow. Bring your full awareness to the feet as we work our way up through the body. Visualize the colour red to ground, stabilize, and to keep you connected to the here and now. Visualize the colour orange to stimulate creativity, adaptability, and to release any emotional pain. Feel the colour yellow to choose hope, purpose, and a sense of being in control of your own well-being. Green now to symbolize abundance, compassion, the love for yourself and for others. Remember, you cannot give from an empty vessel. So start with feeling self-love. Feel gratitude for your health and your comfort. Open your heart and send this love out. Visualize turquoise for honesty, integrity, and expression. Expression of your love, of your concerns, and of your gratitude to others. Find your voice, speak your truth, and express yourself without fear of judgment. come to violet, an awakening for your intuition, your deeper connection with your higher self, and your resolve to find calm and quiet within you. Visualize each of these colours once more in turn, shimmering like a rainbow from that space beneath your feet to above your head. And observe the edges of these colours merging. There's no need to colour within the lines. Visualize this rainbow you hold within you. Then picture that space above your head, filled with the golden white light, connecting you to a higher source, raising your vibration, clearing your aura, and cleansing you of any negative energy stuck within your body. Feel that golden white light pour over your body, cleansing and releasing. You may feel your awareness drawn to one particular colour of the rainbow. If you wish, bathe yourself in that familiar, comforting light. And we'll spend a few moments of quiet here. Gradually tuning in to the rhythm of your breath. Become aware of breathing in and out through the nose. Taking a deep, nourishing breath in. And through your lengthened out breath, feel your physical body anchor once more into the earth beneath you. Another deep breath in through the nose, this time exhaling through the mouth. Starting to notice again the pressure points in your body where you rest against the floor. A further deep breath in through the nose, this time exhaling with an audible sigh. Repeat this deep breath in through the nose, an audible sigh through the mouth. And guide your awareness back to your space within this room. Continue to tune in through the breath. With each breath transaction, feeling sensation return to the physical body. If you feel a little disconnected, Or if you're perhaps fighting the desire to return to physical awareness, try repeating each out-breath with a slightly noisier sigh. And once more visualizing those roots from the soles of the feet, reattaching to the earth beneath you. In your own time, start to make little movements to reawaken the physical body. Wiggling fingers, toes, the jaw, and the nose. Draw the feet a little closer together. And you may wish to take a long stretch through the body. Or it might feel more natural and comfortable for you to hug the knees towards the chest. If there's space to do so, you might wish to gently rock from one hip to the other. Taking your time to roll to one side, blinking the eyes open, then returning once more to a comfortable, seated position. Oh, you look half asleep. Now bring the hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.